So I just assume he's always like going to be online and stuff. But yeah, because he's been coming to the last few of
Yep.
these, at least two or three. Okay, so oh yeah, we're broadcasting. So hello, Twig. So the first thing that I want to bring up is documentation, everyone's favorite. Um, so Jennifer Hodgson specifically pinged me in IRC, well not me, but Twig team basically in IRC the other day, um, trying to find out if we have a plan for mostly the theming guide, which is actually I didn't change the topic yet in Drupal Twig. But the link is in the IRC topic in Drupal Twig. So it's that theme guide /8. It's the last link in there. I don't have a lot of thoughts on this other than I know we need to do it. But we have had a couple people sort of semi-volunteer for it. We just haven't been able to provide them with much direction, unfortunately, or it's been like, oh, it's too soon. You know, it's not kind of fully baked enough to be able to document. So I don't know if anyone has any thoughts or ideas as to like some kind of magical plan where we can get all our documentation done, but yeah, that's a thing because I think it's sort of with beta like really close. Oh, Mark, are you dropping?
Am I what?
I feel like you're dropping in and out.
Well, I came on the first time and I didn't have audio, so
Okay,
I
all right.
dropped off. Hangouts has this awesome feature where if somebody like calls you, you don't even get a choice. You're immediately kicked off the Hangout. So
That's a good feature.
it is. It's awesome feature.
Um,
Hello, everybody.
so yeah, we were just talking about documentation.
Sure.
So there is someone working on something for the API.d.o, which is like a little small section which just links to, basically just says Twig is the templating engine in Drupal 8 and like really briefly kind of what are the benefits of it, and then links off to the D8 theming guide on Drupal.org and the actual Twig documentation on Sensio Labs.
Did you see the amazing patch that went in this afternoon?
I don't think so. Which patch is that?
So I'm not sure like how much of this is new, but hook element info, all of those have been migrated over to render element classes.
What?
That have so that there's like documentation for the render elements.
Yeah, I thought I was following that issue, but apparently not.
Yeah.
'Cause I remember.
Well, it got committed. I don't
remember
totally
seeing that.
understand it. I don't totally understand it, but it seems potentially awesome.
Yeah, I was really excited. I'm gonna find that and I'll add that. I'll paste that everywhere.
Because I think that might mean we have documentation for the render arrays and stuff,
Right.
which seems like amazing.
Yeah. Because yeah, I think it was John Albin who has said multiple times that they are undocumentable as pure arrays. So
Yeah.
it's convert system element info to element classes.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, Joel. I'm pasting links everywhere. So Mark just told us that system element info has been converted to element classes. Convert hook. So this is part of a meta. Convert hook element info to render element and form element plugins. What?
Oh yeah, there's some elements. Some of them are cool. I made one.
Really?
Yeah. It was way nicer to make it in that because all the definition for it was in the actual class itself instead of
Yeah.
like, oh, it's over
Right.
in the common.inc. It's like, okay, but it's in system defined as a template. That makes sense.
Well, that's cool.
Or themes in system or something.
Well, I'll have to look at that later.
I was watching
So,
Carl's presentation at DrupalCon Austin.
yeah.
Man, I know that's like D9 material, but that would be so amazing.
Yeah.
It would be very much so. I really gotta go over to his GitHub thing and start like messing with his code.
Breaking it.
Yeah, because there's a few things that I mentioned at Austin in that call that I forgot about already that could help him out a little bit.
Well, it would be, not that we
Gotcha.
don't have enough on our plate already, but it'd be fun to figure out what's the actual action plan for how you get some of that stuff into core.
Yeah, or even just like
You know.
temporary like placeholders that like kind of get you halfway there so that it's kind of framework ready.
Right.
It's like, oh, he needs this to be in there. Okay, let's kind of shimmy that in there.
Yeah.
That looks really cool.
There's some interesting things that are helping out with stuff that Krell's doing. He's doing this like HTML fragment stuff, and he wants to get Drupal render to spit out an object instead of. And I was trying to do the same thing with like safe markup to have that spit out safe markup object. And I don't think that's going to actually happen, but he's got some plans.
That's the sort of pipeline stuff, Joel?
Yeah, pipeline stuff.
Yeah, Larry has a master plan. He's been working on for years, and he's trying to get it in.
Mm.
So,
and Wim's kind of doing a review on some of it right now.
Yep. So that's the other like really amazing patch that's probably going to go in pretty soon here. Is Wim and Alex Bronstein came up with the. So there's this really thorny issue that's about the problematic interaction between the theming system and Drupal render, and they actually have a solution that's based on what they call the stacking system that would allow for like things like that are attached to render array elements to bubble up properly, because there's major problems with that working right now. So it's like things like pre-render and caching and attached would properly bubble up and not suck as much. So they have a working patch now, and there needs to be a little bit more documentation. But once that gets in, that should help a lot with like asset management and caching.
Do you have an issue for that?
I'll paste it in.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'm not sure if I am following that one.
I'm following it. I'm not understanding it, but I'm following it.
Yeah. I don't understand half the issues I'm following.
I feel like there's more and more of those issues now.
Yeah, there's one that fragment something changes. It might be related to this one, so because Krell's working on it, so I'm sure he's got them all tied together somehow.
Is that the fragment to a service one?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Factor render fragment code out to the service. That's the one I'm following.
That's
right.
the one. Factor render.
And then the other one is the problematic like visibility issues thing.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, and I don't know if we want to talk about that. So I have documentation and Banana on the agenda, but that seems like a good thing to discuss. I didn't really understand it, but maybe I read it too quickly. I don't know if anyone else, so let me get the link for that too.
Where's the link?
I've been following that one. I have to say I have a hard time understanding how we solve that, but
There's been a lot of proposed solutions. So it's 953034.
Yeah.
And it's a long-standing issue. It just got tagged novice like a day or two ago, and I was like, no.
No,
This is
that
like
is
the opposite of novice.
I wrote a big, giant, long one just before that. I didn't tag it as not. Oh yeah, and then I was like writing it, and it was like had like different sections and stuff like that. Then I somehow hit refresh and then lost it all. I'm just like, oh my god.
no.
Yeah, I kind of saw that, and like I didn't understand your comment either. I don't know. I just like.
I'm saying go back to the issue summary, leave it alone until we got something that's properly kind of can handle this, and because people are using it in Drupal 7 already how it is, and Drupal 8 there. I just feel like we're going to put so much extra code on top of it just to get something that we kind of want from a theming system, and that is renderable part is just it's adding complexity, and it's not really making it what you want. So you're kind of over-architecting it, and then you're on top of that you're putting in something that doesn't really solve the problem. So I kind of want either we solve the problem or we do it properly, I guess, and or we just don't do it and we give them a workaround, because putting in extra code for this kind of workaround thing is going to cause just kind of cause confusion, and possibly could cause bugs because you're adding extra complexity to the system, changing how the systems work, changing how Twig works. It sounds like a scary thing. So I'm trying to say just don't do it.
Right.
Right, but the actual use case is very important, which is I want to know if this thing actually has content in it.
Yeah, and if you render it out, then you would know whether or not it has content, and you just need to see if it's empty or not.
So what's the way that you think that would work?
You would render it, so content pipe render renders the result as a string, and then you check to see if that, and if it is, then wrap a wrapper around it, likely what you're trying to do anyways. Put a div around it, and then print it inside the div.
That should
work right now.
I'd have to see that as code. I don't understand.
It's on the second last.
I think there was.
I got
like in my car, so I can't see it.
Yeah. Earlier on, I think there was an example of basically that same idea in PHP template where you're setting a variable to, like, you know, Drupal render the content and then checking that to see if that string is empty or not.
I put an example on the page on comment 132.
And 93.
And 93.
Yeah,
And it is more work. It means you have to think about the problem, but you have to think about it regardless. And if you're putting extra things inside of the conditional, like is renderable or whatever, you're still having to think whether or not region is an array or not, a renderable array.
So are you doing the Drupal render in the pre-process?
No, I'm doing it in the template. It's a pipe render.
Pipe render?
Yeah, it renders the renderable array to a string.
So, like, are you saying, like, so let's say the thing is, I don't know, if content pipe render, something like that?
In Drupal 7, there was a function called render, and it takes the renderable array, turns it into a string. In Drupal 8, there's a filter called render, also does the exact same thing, takes that renderable array, turns it into a string.
Okay.
Is there?
Well, there was. I don't know if somebody removed it.
Okay.
At one point there was. It might have been called like render var.
Yeah, okay, that sounds more right. Yeah.
But it should be called render.
Yeah.
So does that cause a problem? Are you rendering something twice? Is there a performance thing?
No, so the performance thing gets negated because you're actually just storing that. If you use it in a set, you're storing that into a variable, so you've rendered it once, and you're checking to see if it exists, and you're printing out that string, so you're not double rendering it.
Okay, so you do like set content underscore render. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
Well,
sure. Yeah, whatever you want to call the
You
variable.
set content underscore rendered
Yeah, sure.
equals content type render,
Yeah.
and then you would check if content underscore rendered, then
Is not
do
empty or
that.
something. Yeah.
Not empty.
Or just if.
Yeah,
Or
depending
if,
on what you're.
or just if. Yeah.
If you want a 0, then you want is not empty. If you don't care about like false values, then
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
you just say if.
All right.
If you want 0.
Yeah, if you want 0.
Yeah.
That's the question you have to ask yourself.
I was just going to mention, like, the issue is more prominent in D8 because we're making more use of render arrays. Whereas, like, it almost was a non-issue in D6 because, at least according to the comments on this issue, because there was a lot more stuff that was just like, here's your breadcrumbs or here's your tabs, and it's just it's a string of HTML.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, and so it definitely comes up a lot more than.
Because like even things like one of the use cases right now in core, which I mean maybe we can come up with something simpler in Banana World, but one of the use cases is like add a one sidebar class if there's a left sidebar, if there's blocks in the left sidebar, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right
tricky,
now,
but, yeah.
right now that's broken. I'm pretty sure. So you basically, yeah, in head it's just kind of broken because we converted some stuff to render arrays that were strings before when we were converting to Twig, because we I don't know, we wanted to like fix everything, right? So we.
And I was wondering whether it looked like something like Morton. I don't want to speak for Morton, but he was looking like he was removing that stuff from certain things in different like markup, dream markup.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't think those classes will be there in Stark or Naked or whatever whatever you want to call it, or really Core, I guess. But they'll be there in Class C,
Okay.
etc.
Now we still need to render it out into a string at one point to check to see if it's.
I guess that's kind of what Carl was talking about. Was
he was trying to like recursively go through it and find if those things had values, but
yeah,
it still has like a performance hit because it might be a very minorly different performance hit. But the recursion is the big part of that performance hit. If you're having to go through and recursively loop through all the child elements to check to see if all the things inside have values, then you can. That's where the performance hit's going to happen. It's not on turning that thing into. You're going to have it a double hit anyways because you're going to have to go through and do that exact same thing when you actually render it out.
But I thought his thing was more about defining like a callback for is this empty or not? Like So
that callback would have to look through, see if that has any children. If that children has any children, it has to go through, look through that one, and if that, and again and again and again, and then if it has multiple children, it has to loop through all of those things. So
I can't see how that wouldn't be a gigantic performance hit.
Yeah,
but
it's the same. It's the same as rendering.
I don't understand the connection though. Like I see what you're saying. That could be like a generic callback, but if you're thinking of something like say theme item list,
Mm-hmm.
then the is printable callback for that would just be like, are there any items, like hash items? Is that empty or not?
Well, I guess it would be because you're not looking into
what I mean?
if its children would be empty.
I mean, maybe not, because I guess like you could nest other stuff inside of there. I don't know if that would
Yeah, but then you'd also have to check to see if those items have a renderable array that have empty children, because if it had a whole bunch of empty children item arrays or items with no values, then technically the parent is also empty, and therefore you'd have to do that recursion anyways. Or maybe you have a whole bunch of items that have, just for example, you have a whole bunch of child items that have access false on every single one of them.
Right.
So you'd have to check that whole set before you can assume that that thing's empty. So that's where I'm thinking, like, you need to render it. And it's the simplest approach. You render it, you see whether or not it's empty, and you call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd have to render it anyways if it's true, right?
Yep.
So the only cost is that it's not really a cost because
Yeah, you want to check it anyway. So.
yeah.
And
In theory, if there was some magic way to know that something wasn't renderable, you'd save yourself from not rendering it. But
yeah, and Steve
since
Oliver
there
tried
isn't
a
a magic
couple.
way to do that.
Yeah, Steve Oliver tried to do that exact same thing that Carl was doing. Carl had a really nice, elegant way to do it. I really like that kind of approach that he was taking on that problem. But you find it really quickly when you're trying to implement that there's so many different things that could affect whether or not something's renderable, and then the recursion on top of that, and it just, oh my god. And then so that's part of the complexity that I was complaining about a little bit. And then also Fabian was saying about changing up how Twig works, and it's like, okay, if we do that, then we're still not really, if you do that different type of test, something is renderable.
Yeah.
We are adding an extra thing that somebody has to learn, and you still have to know whether or not that thing, so it doesn't really help either. It kind of helps, but you're still having to learn that.
That's more complex to add than I think both. If region is renderable and set region equals page.region render, whatever that syntax looks like, they're both I think hard to learn, but the is renderable one is a lot more code to write and maintain.
Yeah, and we could easily. I think if we avoided that one and we always said that we had to check is empty, because that way that's the more common use case anyways. If we said is
override?
Empty, yeah, then we could change that the Twig's filter for that one. The whatever it's called.
The
Twig.
test.
Yeah, the test Twig is empty. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
Then that would be a little bit easier, but still, you're having to reinvent something because we have these arrays, and I feel like we should just let that happen automatically in Drupal 8 with the toString on that thing, and
because the thing that I kind of keep coming back to is that if we do the test way, adding a Twig test, I feel like we need to add caching.
Yeah.
Because if we're just using a set tag, then we don't have to worry about caching. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you're caching it, you want it on something that has a reference. Otherwise, you're going to have a duplicate. So, like an object.
Yes. I'm smiling and nodding.
It passes it around by a reference. So then if you had that object that had the cached version of the rendered output, it can check that quickly instead of having to re-render the object. Whereas if it's an array, you're passing around by copy, and it's expensive. And
sounds pricey.
Yeah, it might work, but it's still. Anyways, I digress.
Okay, so I mean, yeah, I mean, with a lot of these issues, I'm leaning more and more towards just sort of the simple solution, because we need to get these things fixed one way or another, and yeah.
And I don't want to discourage anybody, but we're coming close to beta, and it's it's a critical issue. So let's kind of work with what we got.
Yeah.
And it's not a huge problem. Render it and then check it. We did in Drupal 7 anyways.
This is maybe a good transition. I'm gonna have to leave the call in just a minute here, but I went over the banana stuff with Angie.
Yep.
And so she kind of had a somewhat negative reaction to having all the class setting code at the top of the templates. So I would imagine she'd have a similar reaction to the pipe render stuff in a set thing at the top, but to me it sounds like the most accurate and reliable way to do it. So
ask her how she does it in Drupal 7, because it's the same thing.
Right. Yeah. So ultimately, she said to go ahead with the set classes and stuff like that. So we're good to go there on Banana.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, that sounds like the pipe render solution seems like the most reliable way to do it.
So yeah,
check the name on
And
that
easy.
it's well. From if memory serves, it is render var, and I think it's only a function. I don't think it's a pipe right now.
It could be a pipe.
It could be a pipe, yeah, like very easily. So, yeah.
Okay.
Because you're basically making a string. So to me, like filter kind of does make sense because there could be some case where you would want to do some more stuff with that maybe. Like
Yeah.
you could set, I don't know. I mean, no, it doesn't really make sense for this case, but in other cases you could do things like set a default maybe. I don't know.
I'll be back in 15 to 20 minutes if you guys are here. So,
All right.
head out.
Cool. Catch you later.
Yeah. Yep.
Extension, environment, extension.
Yeah. So apparently the book module is broken. Who knew?
Oh yeah, sorry. I was weird. It was broken before and after, but in slightly different ways. But it's probably the same problem. It's just
Yeah.
doesn't have a key and it fails. I'm not sure how deep that problem goes. Yeah, it should be a filter in there. It's render bar. So.
There's a filter as well?
Oh no, there should be.
Oh, there should be. Yeah. Okay.
I was just double checking too,
Yeah.
seeing what we got.
Yeah.
I haven't seen what changed in there in a while.
So, yeah, as far as the banana front, it seems like we have most of the sort of groundwork in place, I would say. We have the add remove classes, we have the clean class, clean ID filters, and then the array filter for the add class or remove class too, I guess.
Did that go in already?
Yep, that's in.
Yep.
And it sounds like we have 1 to 2 issues that are like right on the edge of our TBC.
Yeah, so I've been working on field and node.
Yeah.
They're pretty close, and I know that Wheat Penny's been working on the daytime one, so hopefully that'll be closer by the end of the week. And I was just starting on block.
Was that a new issue? I saw it like pop up somewhere.
Yeah, I just created it last night.
Okay, awesome.
And like David had gone through and updated that that Google Doc with the preprocessed functions, classes, and issues.
Right.
And I resorted that yesterday so that all the ones that are being worked on are at the top.
Cool.
And then us having to hunt them down. And then I think the outstanding things on field, at least, and probably node, are manual testing based on the comments that were last added.
Right. Cool.
And did you have any? We had there was a question that we were asking about a couple days ago. Sean, the part where the whether or not to put a space or not in the add class.
Oh, the parentheses thing? Not that issue.
Not the parentheses, the space in. So you add class and you just put a string in there, and I had one example in there where.
Yeah. So whether or not we want to standardize that to being.
Yeah.
Wrapped in comma separated.
So I'm not sure if it causes us any issues. I suggested it because I said it's a valid way to do it, but I don't know if it's kosher.
Which issue was that on?
I think I said field. It's like hiding in there.
Node or field? Yeah.
I
remember.
I'm just taking a look back.
So yeah, the idea is that you do add class and then you just put a string right in there with the spaces in there instead of comma separating them or turning them into an array? Because it's valid, but it makes it into not an array anymore. So if you wanted to manipulate it to remove that thing, this is an edge case, you wouldn't be able to because it's part of the string. But the only problem I can see that causing us is in template extension. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
Template extension.
Yeah, so I mean, if that's the issue, then I think it's a matter of just standardizing to not doing the thing I did.
Okay. Well, there's still two ways, right? You can either pass an array or you can pass multiple arguments still, right?
Yep.
Okay.
But I was just saying that it's technically legal to do that, and in Drupal in jQuery they allow you to do that and recommend doing that. I was just kind of like.
But I get it would break though if you're using the ternaries, wouldn't it? Because you would end up with extra spaces.
No, or sorry, ternary.
So it's like if you did it in the set block, it might break, is what you're saying, right?
I guess I don't understand what.
Yeah, so the way it's being done wherever I'm doing it, and I'm trying to find it, is
I'm like scrolling all the issues.
Yeah, it's inline, like I don't know, it's like content attributes had like two classes, and then I think that's what it was.
So is you're printing it and adding the classes? Is that what it was?
Yeah, so it's not in like an array. It's just getting dumped out. Where the heck is it?
It's got to be a node.
I looked in Node and I didn't see it. Maybe I'm blind. I don't know.
Definitely not on field.
But it's, you're basically talking about like double curly braces, whatever content attribute. Oh, I see it. It is in Node.
Okay.
So like,
hidden. It seriously was hidden.
Like I don't know. I guess I just don't understand. Like that's fine. They're hard coded. If they were ternaries, though, then if one of them like didn't come true, then you'd end up with an extra space or two, right?
Yep. Yeah, just like you would in PHP. If you didn't like concatenate the space on there on the ternary or something.
So I think in cases like that, I personally would prefer to either give multiple arguments to add class or just pass an array.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be on multiple lines or anything. Just just to make that clear. And sort of more consistent. Yeah.
Like if somebody did it in a template in Contrib, it wouldn't be a big problem. It's their choice. They can do whatever the hell they want. Yeah. And it's not going to affect them because it's only really going to affect somebody that's extending that template and wanting to be able to hide one of them.
Yeah.
That's kind of the only issue I could possibly think of that. Because we're so far down, like if we're in the template already, there's no modules manipulating these extra things anyways.
Yeah.
All right, so then I'll change that one. I think I always did it in one place for.
Yeah, I think I only saw it in one place too. Just for tests.
And you, Scott, had something there about changing the test to using. What the heck was it?
Oh, the CSS select thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be the other thing to do there.
It just it would make it a lot. It would make it a lot easier to write them because and the other thing is I have a feeling we're gonna have to write. Well, maybe not write, but update a lot more of these things. So, because if they're based on, the order of things, especially.
Yeah.
There are some examples that have gone into core recently. I'm trying to think of the best way to do that. I think like git log might be your best bet to actually find them.
The example they use in the change record looks like it's Tor module.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Tor module is the one that's doing it.
That sounds right. So maybe only one thing has been committed with this since the actual feature's been added. But yeah, you could do, actually, that'll look better in IRC, but you could do like git log minus capital S and then do this CSS select. And then you can come across like 2318435. We just link to the actual patch. But you're basically, you're using CSS or jQuery selectors, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Because XPath is powerful and cool, but it's also a pain in the ass.
Yeah, definitely. It's not fun to look at either.
Oh. So
Well, that was the one that was it. Who made that thing?
I want to say Larolan was the big person that pushed that through.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the first in that commit message. Cool,
CSS select.
So yeah, you get stuff that's more like, I'm just gonna put it in IRC because it's gonna look weird in this tiny little Google Hangout thing. Like menu link equals the CSS select, and then you just put your selector, and then the next one is, then like the next line of your test is assert equal. I don't know how that works, but you're asserting equal stuff.
Well, it's part of Symfony components.
Yeah.
Fancy. I wonder what they did.
So assert equal string menu link 0 test. I guess like this might be slightly different because I think this is checking. I think that selector contains that text. There's another one that's RTBC right now. That might be a better example. And let's see. For adding classes into your region template, so okay, I'm gonna put that in IRC, that link. Cool. So this is like a much smaller patch. So this is just doing the CSS select and then doing a count. So assert equal, just count the number of elements matching that selector, and if it's 1, then you win, kind of thing. So much, like, it's just much simpler, and I think we could. The only thing is, I'm not sure what the. I guess it would just look like normal CSS stuff, like for your language attributes, direction, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It would certainly look better than these like weird, either like regular expressions or like crazy XPath.
Yeah.
Yeah, the XPath for CSS classes is extreme because you have to put like, and each one of them you'd have to normalize.
Yeah.
So which means you have to put a space before and after the class attribute, and then like find it within there.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. And space before and after the actual class that you're putting in there, so that it finds the right one and not like node hyphen hyphen something if you're looking for node.
Right. Okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah.
I demoed that to Morton. It's like he was doing some field template stuff and trying to change the XPath, and I'm like, this is the way you have to do it, and it's like it blows
so weird.
Yeah.
Mm.
Put spaces before and after the selector, and then put it on each one of your actual classes that you're looking for, and then find it that way. It's like, why?
All right, so
Yeah.
I just updated Node with those comments, so back to just work for that guy.
Okay, cool.
That'll give me some fun to do.
Awesome.
And then I I guess the other thing with all this is once we have one of these, are we still? I know Dave and I went back and forth on this, whether or not the plan was to like get one of these in, so that it's there as an example, versus just constantly rolling them, and then doing the big meta thing all at the end.
Mark would be a better person to ask because I think him and David both talked to WebChick about that.
Yeah.
I was sort of a fly on the wall for that, and I'm pretty sure, well, for that and it was Alex Pod I think that they talked to, and I think it was basically we're going to commit one, and then hold off on the rest of them because it's a lot easier to, if for whatever reason something doesn't pan out, it's a lot easier to revert one patch than like 5 random ones.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know which one?
Right now it's looking like field.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that one's basically done at this point.
Very cool.
Until somebody throws a wrench in it.
Well, I haven't heard so much. I was expecting that it would get a bit more feedback, but maybe we need to put more eyes on it or something.
Yeah, it might be flying under the radar.
Let's see.
I mean, I think when somebody goes...
34 followers, that's pretty decent.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Well, I think once somebody actually goes in there to actually commit it,
right,
the fun will ensue.
Right.
Let's just see if we can get Morton to tweet it out or something like that. All of his followers.
Well,
or Jen.
Not tonight, but not tonight. But, Jen's gonna poke it.
Yeah, poke it.
Depends which perspective you want, because if Morton tweets it, you'll get the opposite ranting than if I tweet it.
Just more eyes. It's a bunch of classes in a template.
Have you kind of seen that stuff, Jen? The having all the classes declared in the template stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Mark a little bit about it. Where were we? Some Drupal thing earlier.
Oh, like Twin Cities or something?
Yeah, it was either Twin Cities or Iowa.
Cool.
And I mean, it's not ideal, but I think that, like, it's better than the alternative.
Yeah.
So I think it's fine. I mean, I can understand Angie's perspective because for so long in Drupal land, it was like, don't do anything in your template files. But I feel like that's what front-enders want.
Right.
So it's like, whatever, we should just change the rules, and then it'll be fine.
It's going to be really tough to change those rules.
Yeah.
I want that really bad because a lot of times I get new people to Drupal and they want to change the templates and they're like, which templates do you want me to edit? And I'm like, I can't tell you that. I need you to like DPM the pre-process to tell you what suggestions it's going to be. It's like, oh my god, I can't do that.
Yeah.
So
totally.
It's harsh, and then on top of that, as soon as I let them change the templates. Like me letting them change. I let them just change the templates. They're like, oh, I tried changing the field formatter and nothing happens because you changed the template on it. It's like, oh, great. So now anybody that's in the field UI has no control over these fields. And it's like, that's awesome because the field UI shouldn't be marking up the stuff. But at the same time, we rely on the field UI to mark it up with formatters. So now you've basically said template people don't get a chance to do that, or they have to do it on a global state for every single version of whatever. Every single version of that field, doesn't matter what node it's attached to, it's going to be displayed like this unless we put a suggestion in and then your templates go to control. It's a big mess.
Yeah. I mean, I'm dealing with this problem now where I have a guy who like knows HTML and CSS, and he's like working on his site, and he's like, can't you just tell me where to go to change the markup? And I'm like, no. I'm like, here, I'll give you a module that provides a field formatter, and then you just choose this field formatter to change your markup. And he's like, what? Like, it's like the weirdest thing. Like,
it's bizarre.
Yeah.
Yep, that's Drupal. Trying to get used to the entity stuff, and Badir was showing me some pretty cool stuff because I was trying to map what happens in Drupal 8 to Drupal 7, and because I was like, I have this field object inside of my template. I want to be able to get the value from it, just like you do in Drupal 8, or sorry, Drupal 7, but Drupal 7, there's a whole bunch of ways you could do it. You could directly like drill down the giant array until you get the value. Depending on what type of field it is.
Data wrappers.
Yeah, or you can use those little functions. You can use the functions that help with formatting it. Field view value, or whatever they're called. Those help too a little bit. But yeah, they have like synonyms for that. That's why you have to do like that dot value. Yeah, dot value is the way to get it, but there's also like dot view if you want to get the view version of it. So it would be nice to get some of that stuff sorted out, and because that's the first question I'm going to get is, how do I get the value from this field in my node template? Drillable, drillable fields somehow.
Joel, the other thing that we had to discuss was those parentheses with the ish string is published is promoted thing.
Oh yeah.
The parentheses with the ish string.
Oh, you're cut now.
No. Is Mark becoming a robot again?
Oh, nice.
So I'm trying to remember. I was talking to David. It was late last night about this. For some reason, I think him and I were of the opinion that we shouldn't do that.
We shouldn't put the class. We shouldn't put the parentheses in. Yeah. So the parentheses determine that it's a method, and it is a method in Drupal. In PHP, you use those parentheses because you're calling that method. Mm-hmm. If you don't do that, there is a possibility that you very, very, very slim possibility. But I just want to say there is a possibility that you could mess things up because it's looking for the property. And if it can't find the property, it goes to look for a method for that. Mm-hmm. But if that field existed, so in the case of, let's see what we're talking about here, like published is one of the examples.
Yeah.
Published. So if published is actually a function is published. Let's just it's that. But what its actual field in the background is called status.
Yeah.
And so, for example, you could technically, on a node, make another field called published that's not status. Mm-hmm. And when the getter looks to see whether or not is published, it's going to look for the field first. It's going to use the get. It's going to use this magic getter thing.
But so when you create a custom field, it doesn't have the like field underscore and then published?
Well, that's if you use field module to create
yeah.
it.
But so if you did it in code.
Properties to entities not using field module, like there are a bunch of modules that add stuff to them that could possibly create a conflict.
That's why I'm saying it's slim, but it is still a chance.
I think even if there's a slim chance, like, it's probably just worth putting the parentheses in there if that's going to be the more accurate way. I mean,
yeah,
you know, it doesn't really harm much to put those in there.
Yeah, because it's going to call that specific method that's actually defined on the entity and not try to magically look it up. Which, if you don't put the parentheses, that's what happens. It's looking for a field first. Field doesn't exist. Go to look for magic getter for it, and then say, oh, I found a field. And then it'll use that one instead of the actual thing you're aiming for.
But doesn't adding the is, I'm not familiar.
So that was the other thing and this makes it even slimmer of a chance. But if you did published, if you did is published, and you actually made that a field name, which would be stupid. But if you did that, it would still have the same problem, you know.
Yeah.
If that was a field name.
Yeah, I understand that. Okay.
So this magic getter thing, that's a property of these objects that could be removed too. So if we decided that we didn't want to use the magic and you want to like manually specify like if it's a method you're going to add parentheses and if it's a property you're not, you could also just remove that magic getter thing in Drupal's version of whatever object it is.
It's part of Twig core.
But we override that anyway.
Not that.
Don't we?
No. We leave that alone. That's and the reason why we leave that one alone is because it's inside of getAttribute, which is a Twig method. But Twig attribute, if we touch Twig attribute, we affect the way that the compiled version of Twig does. That's the only real thing that the compiled thing does, is it does that.
So that's the PHP extension for Twig.
Yeah, the C extension for Twig.
Yeah. Yeah.
It uses getAttribute, and that logic for magic getting and stuff is inside of that. And if we make any changes to that, we basically screwed that C extension, which is supposed to speed up the compiling of Twig templates.
Right, if we override
Well,
anything.
it speeds up the actual templates because it replaces the call to the Twig getAttribute with like a native PHP
Oh yeah,
function.
sorry.
Yeah.
It's not the compile. I thought it was original. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but I guess part of me wonders, like, if you did do that thing where you're adding is published as a field, like, wouldn't you break other stuff too?
Oh, you.
I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't thought about. I'm not on the Entity API channel until like earlier this week. I got to talk to Pradir for a while. It was cool. I learned a lot of stuff.
Awesome.
But yeah, no, I have no idea. That could break lots of other things too. I'm just not in that discussion of whether or not they care.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's the same here. There's a small chance we could mess something up if we don't put this parentheses.
So it's better to be safe than sorry.
There's a lot of other things that we've done that are riskier that could break in our faces. So I think this is very slim, but I still want to make sure that people are aware of the consequences of what they're doing. If I know what they are, otherwise we're just guessing and it'll just happen.
What is the argument for not putting the parentheses on there?
Prettier.
Okay, so
And also everything is accessed the same way. So you don't need to know whether it's a property or a method you just...
right, which is supposed to be one of the advantages of Twig. So
It is the advantage.
Well, and all of this reared its ugly head because Sticky doesn't behave the same way as published and promoted.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was
and I still don't understand why, but yeah.
Sticky is a field, an actual field. Is published is not the field. It's status. Status is the field. Is published is the method that actually checks the value of status.
Can we just change it to sticky?
And that would be like the... Yeah, we could
It's
just
stickied.
change Sticky.
It's just is stickied.
Yeah. Or just change the field to sticky-ish.
Stuck.
Yes.
No, yeah, the field. The one that the reason why it's sticky is it's the same as the field name is exactly the same as the method.
Method.
So it's confusing.
Yes. So it resolves to the field instead of the method.
Yep.
Well, instead of the is method, right? Because it goes like kind of like get then is.
Well, that actually the problem is that if you type in just node.sticky, just for example, you have node.sticky, you're actually grabbing the field, and it's a field object, not a field value.
Okay.
Oh, we lost Mark. So the reason why that doesn't work is because it's an object, so it's always 1. It's not 1 or 0, it's always 1.
Mm-hmm.
But if you wanted the field value, this is back to the whole field get field value field 777 randomness. You want to get the value, so you just go sticky.value, and that's why Badir, I think it was Badir, said that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
because I'm pretty sure, like, if you look at the is sticky method on the node entity, it's doing like this get sticky arrow value.
Yeah.
Damn gestures.
and then casting that to a Boolean. What?
Damn gestures, I said. Back myself out of this conversation. Mark, you missed that value. So the reason why sticky doesn't work, sticky is the object itself, not the value. So it's a field object. Because it's a field object. Whereas isSticky is actually getting the value of that field. So it's the 0 or 1. Whereas sticky is the field. So if you want to get sticky's value, that's why Badir said use sticky.value.
So and that still is another option.
It is still another option. It's actually technically probably what you're going to have to do in a lot of other cases where they don't have methods.
So because kind of coming back to what you're saying, Joel, earlier about sort of the drillability and how are we going to teach people this is how you get the value from that field.
Mm-hmm.
That might end up having to be node.field_image.value.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So if that is how that ends up, then maybe it does make sense to do node.sticky.value. Because then it would be consistent, and when you're looking at the templates, you might not necessarily know that sticky is a field, but you would at least see that syntax.
Yeah, you're totally right, but it makes me sad.
I know, I'm not really that thrilled about it either, but it is thrilling, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, you're getting the value. The only nice thing is that actually has an accessor method called isSticky that you can call instead. And it's nice, and it allows you to use that.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we're using in PHP. So in this case, it makes more sense to use the method. And the reason why I was saying use the method.
The method is casting to a Boolean as well, which is nice.
Yeah, and the method is kind of like add class, so you kind of get some consistency there because add class is also a method on an object, and you have to know that as well. So.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see that. So the fact that you're doing. So let's say we do node.isSticky with the parentheses, then it's like you're calling the function just like you're calling add class, even though behind the scenes it's completely different. But yeah, that makes sense too.
It's getting the value and whatever. But I do agree with you. We do probably need to show people that because it's very common that somebody wants in a template to grab the value of a field, and .value is how you do it. Mm-hmm. I tried to look at the ways of making that better, but it's really hard. And that's what I think I was sharing with you that little snippet of code using invoke, make the object invocable, and it'll actually work in Twig.
Right.
It's not ideal, and it doesn't really work that great, but it did work. I was like, oh, cool. I never knew that you could do that.
Are people actually going to want the value of sticky in a template? Aren't they going to check to see if something's sticky and then add a class? Because the value of sticky is either 0 or 1.
Yep.
And that's not going to be part of a class name.
No. Yeah,
so
they just want to check to see if the value of is 1 or 0, and that's all they care about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sticky's like the. It's just like a. I don't know. It's nothing. No great shakes with the .value, right? Because it's just so straightforward.
Yeah.
Oh, so do you like the .value then? Is that what you're saying?
I had no idea that sticky was a field.
Oh, okay. Me neither, actually.
Right, and so this at least tells me that that's what's going on there. I don't like it. It looks ugly.
Yeah. There you go.
But it's going to look ugly for everybody, because you're going to do what, content.value for whatever field or whatever.
Yeah.
You're going to print out anyway.
Those work. That's a kind of weird thing is if you're in a node template, you can do. I'm pretty sure you can just do content dot, field_image, and that will print your image. But if you want to do within your node template node.fieldImage, then you have to do node.fieldImage.value, and then you're relying on auto escape to escape that raw value. But also you're not going through any field formatters or anything.
New glasses, by the way. I just noticed.
What?
I just noticed your new glasses.
Yeah.
Fancy.
Not really. But thanks.
They are,
so
yeah.
Jen, like, what? I just want to get back to like what you were saying because I want to know your thoughts on this.
About sticky
About-
being not
yeah,
important.
sticky. Yeah.
Well, just that I was trying to think of like the use cases in which you'd actually use sticky in your template. Like I know sticky is different from everything else, but it seems like the only time you'd ever use it is if you were is stickying, right? Because you want to find out if something is sticky.
Yeah.
So you would is sticky it, and then you would add a class or whatever, and you don't actually care what the value is. Like I'm not sure there's a use case for retrieving the value if you have an is sticky to use
Sure.
instead.
Okay, that makes
So
sense.
you're kind of saying is sticky the method's going to be the most common.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I like that one.
Team parentheses.
Yeah.
All right, you guys win. I concede.
It's gone in
Yep.
a big giant circle, but at least we know a lot more. What the hell is sticky? Oh, it's a field. Object, not field value.
Craziness.
Did I miss anything else earlier? Well, obviously I missed something, but what did I miss earlier?
Well, we did about 20 minutes of like just improvised comedy while you were gone.
Oh, I missed that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
No, I honestly can't remember what we were talking about. Probably more
Okay.
of it.
More of the same.
Yeah.
So banana, we still have to like make our like issues for that, right?
Eh,
Sticky banana.
Well, just like
they'll
you
make
know, for all the
themselves.
different conversions and things.
Yeah.
We have some made in that Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's currently 6 issues that exist, and
1, 2, 3.
there's like another like ridiculous amount that need to be created.
Yeah.
Of which views is going to be like probably the most headachy one.
Would that be something that your fake app thing could generate for us, Scott?
Oh yeah. I was saying in IRC the other day if we can get like a template. Potentially, I could even build something based off of a spreadsheet, but I don't know if I want to go that far. But yeah, if we can just come up with like a template, issue summary kind of thing, then yeah, I can make it happen.
Yeah, and I was trying to come up with something like that for the block one that wasn't so crazy, because even like the field description one is like completely and horribly outdated at this point.
Oh, like as an issue summary?
Yeah, like I was gonna go as far as to be like classes like example classes, you know what I mean? But in the block one I at least use like real block classes.
We can update the issue summary after. It's kind of
Yeah,
like
I mean if
simple.
you just want to go through and create them all, and then task 1 is to actually put something like relevant in there. Like, I mean, we're gonna obviously like you're not gonna want to go through and actually put the preprocessed functions modified in those Twig templates that are going to be modified in each one of these things.
No, but you can also just refer to the meta.
Well, we probably could.
Yeah. All right, you want to get fancy? That's entirely.
Yeah, we can refer everybody to the meta to figure out how to do something.
Yeah.
And then it's just something
but that just gave me an idea. I would like to suggest we did this for the Twig conversions, like that's sort of a bit later in the process, but adding some sort of a list or table to the issue summary to say like this is what we're touching. So you almost get it as a sort of a checklist. The thing is like I'm kind of hoping that once we have all the issues, we can get rid of the spreadsheet. But we still need to preserve that data.
Yeah.
Yeah, the spreadsheet was generated off of a script, so I can run that script at any time. But it's the organizing was done after on different tab.
Right. So like it was I mean in the Twig stuff it was mostly it was for things that like modules where it had like a group of like theme functions or templates. So I'll just paste an example in here into the Hangout. Where it's just got a table at the top that has, here's the theme functions, are they converted or not, and you could get fancier with it, but something like that.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Rather than just a list of junk.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that looks like, whether that's one list of templates and one list of preprocessors, or sort of like a matching. I'm not sure, but something like that.
Yeah. All right. Maybe I'll take a stab at that in block, and then if it looks all right, we can jump off from there.
Cool. Sounds good.
And I mean, I think once one gets in, one of these examples gets in, and the change record goes out, then that will, hopefully we can, just plow through, because a bunch of them are super simple, trivial things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the big ones are the ones that we want to kind of tackle first, because the other ones we can kind of don't have to worry about as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Angie, when I talked to Angie, she was concerned about us getting all of these things done in time. Mm-hmm. So I think getting the actual issues built out and having a meta that lists them all would be helpful.
It would be huge.
Sure. Yeah.
I think I'm going to do a sprint in a couple weeks, so that would be awesome if I could point people at a meta.
Yeah. And then the other thing that we need to do is get the classy theme actually in there so that contrib themes can start pointing at it. With the beta coming up, it would be really nice to get that in there so that everybody's themes don't break when we start moving things from system to classy.
Yeah.
So.
I can't remember, do we have an issue for that? Does anyone know?
No, we need to set it up.
Okay. Maybe I can create one real quick.
Should be pretty easy to.
It doesn't need too much of a. I'm just going to basically make it a child of the main banana.
Okay.
Consensus banana.
Yeah.
Phase 1.2.
Phase 2.-1.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Countdown.
Okay, so add classy base themed core. It sounds so controversial.
Well,
if anyone has a better title.
Nope.
What is?
Should I just say add classy.info.yaml to core? That sounds a lot less dangerous.
I hear
Yeah, that sounds very non-threatening.
Oh, just another YAML file.
Right. Nobody will notice.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah. David
well,
agreed to be maintainer of classy as long as we don't call the theme Ace, so that it's Ace of Base. So.
As long as we don't call it Ace of Base.
Well, if we called the theme Ace, it would be a base theme for other themes, so then it would be the Ace of Base.
Yeah.
But he said we can't do that.
No fun.
All right.
I won't keep you all here while I type, but is there anything else that anyone wants to mention? Otherwise, I think we can wrap it up.
Nope.
Good. All right. So next Twig call is in 2 weeks.
Oh, one little thing, I guess. Trying to wrap up the theme conversions.
Me too.
Yeah, exactly. We have type tables are kind of the big ones that are left to go. They're troublesome for lots of reasons.
Yeah.
And then we only have we only have a few other ones to get rid of.
Picture.
I did the type
Yeah.
Type more link again. I reverted back to the original issue summary, and it worked because the David Meister helped me figure out how to make it work. And so that one's, I don't know, it's RTBC. That's one of them, I guess. So it's now back to the type more link.
It's RTBC, but it's not RTBC.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
Exactly, I'm saying somebody.
Okay, well, give us a link then.
Oh, I have a link. I have a RTBC question mark on my spreadsheet. Come on, copy paste.
Is adding a new base theme an API change?
There's a bow in her hair, right? Also rip it off.
Nope. Not unless you link something to it.
Yeah, I think it's yes, I think so, because if people don't update to the new base theme, like their themes will all break. So eventually.
Okay. I don't know how to phrase that, but okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put maybe.
Maybe not. I mean, maybe not, because if they created like a sub theme of Bartik, and Bartik is now a sub theme of another theme, they're still fine.
Yeah, no, the ones within core will be fine. It's all the other ones. So.
Oh.
Well, it's yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's anything that doesn't have a base theme currently specified.
Yeah, they're gonna be in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, even like base themes that like even the like mega base themes like Zen and Omega and stuff, they inherit some of their templates from core.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Those
for
would
sure.
all break. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is that so hard to copy paste?
What?
I can't copy and paste anything for some stupid reason.
Oh, your link. I was
Yeah.
like, what do you? Yeah, you lost me. No RTBC for you.
You want baby? Alright.
Okay. Well, I'll
What do you got here?
be posting that soon, and I'll paste it in IRC.
Okay. So we have like menu stuff seems to be going. I still haven't got around to splitting up the authorized / task list into two, but I will.
Oh, for maintenance, yeah, that one's a bugger.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, if you can split that, or if you want me to split it or whatever.
I can split it. That's fine.
This is two, right?
Yeah, and then there's responsive images
Yeah.
still need to be done. So where's the status on that?
So the really awesome thing is that we got the like complete overhaul of the breakpoint module in, and that's what was blocking the next issue, which is implementing the current version of the picture polyfill, which will basically overhaul the responsive images module. We're having a little bit of a debate right now on how to handle some UI issues there's this new sizes attribute with the picture element. And the UI for it is kind of tricky. So if we can get that figured out, we could get that in. And then there might be a couple more minor follow-ups, but then we can do the Twig conversion. So
And
it's only taken like 6 months of work to get to this point. So.
Okay, so for the Twig conversion, if we did the Twig conversion right now,
You should not do that.
why? The Twig conversion just doesn't change.
It's blocked on other issues. It's blocked on just, like, trust me. Like, I've been down this path before. Like, there's some, like, horrible things with the way alt works, and you don't even want to know.
Okay.
Like, we're going to get this in, and then we're going to do the Twig conversion. It'll work. I'm going to make it happen. I will twist arms to make it happen.
It just seems like if we're going from like the theme function to the template, we shouldn't have that much of a problem. But
I worked like a long time on that Twig conversion issue. We need to solve these other things first.
interesting.
So.
You have a chain too, I bet, in your head or on that Trello thing.
Huh?
We have like a chain of all these things need to go.
Oh, yeah.
So this needs to go, then this needs to go, then this.
I have several issues where I have this chain in my head of like the 5 issues that have to get done to do this one thing with Twig. So we're getting there.
And we have a bunch of like theme functions left over that are doing form stuff, and I tried one way, and I don't think it's like going to work that well. So, any suggestions?
Sorry, what was that, Joel?
Forms. Anything that's like theme, blah 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 form.
Oh, yeah.
It's just an override of the form contents, not the actual form tag, but the form contents.
Complicated.
Usually, half the time it doesn't do anything. So it's a suggestions related thing. We have
Most of them have a comment that says something like "provided as a convenience for themers."
Yeah. So can we? Were we waiting on something for suggestions?
Don't think so.
No. So suggestions should work on that one if I just said change it to a suggestion.
Maybe. Didn't that work for one of the ones that Jared Davis was working on, and then like I don't remember which one that was. Forum. It's not to be confused with 404. Form, because didn't like I want to say Andy Post come in and like fix that some like one line of code or something that we forgot to change, and then it worked.
Form.
I'm not sure if that got in yet or not. Form.
It's not an open issue, I don't think.
Anyway, if I find that, I'll paste that in IRC, but I think we should wrap it up.
All right.
Cool.
Good call, everybody.
Yep, thanks everyone for coming.
All right. Talk to y'all later.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.